Join me as I take on the challenge of leveling up from a complete DnD noob to a confident dungeon master. From the start, I knew that making the leap from player to dungeon master wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to take on the challenge and make it happen. The thrill of creating an immersive world, crafting intricate storylines, and guiding my friends through unforgettable adventures was too enticing to resist. But what does it take to make the transition from player to DM, and is it really worth it? One of the biggest fears that players face when considering taking on the DM role is the pressure of storytelling. Will I be able to create a compelling narrative that keeps my players engaged? What if my story falls flat, or worse, gets boring? Another fear is the responsibility of managing player dynamics. How do I handle conflicts between players, or ensure that everyone gets an equal share of the spotlight? And then there's the issue of prep time. How do I balance the need to prepare an engaging story with the pressure of real-life commitments? These fears can be overwhelming, and it's easy to get caught up in the what-ifs and maybes. But the truth is, every DM starts somewhere, and even the most seasoned DMs were once newbies too. The key is to acknowledge these fears, take a deep breath, and dive in. Remember, the first few sessions will be rocky, and that's okay. It's all part of the learning process. As a player, you're used to relying on the DM to create the world, its inhabitants, and the story. But as a DM, you're suddenly responsible for creating an entire universe from scratch. It's a daunting task, but it's also an incredible opportunity to unleash your creativity and bring your ideas to life. So take the leap of faith, and remember that the worst that can happen is that you learn something new. World building is one of the most crucial skills for a DM to master. It's not just about creating a map or a list of NPCs, it's about crafting an immersive environment that draws your players in and makes them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. Improvisation is another key skill. No matter how much you prep, your players will always find ways to surprise you. The ability to think on your feet and adapt to changing circumstances is essential for any DM. And finally, communication is vital. Being able to clearly convey your vision to your players and being open to their feedback and suggestions is what makes the difference between a good DM and a great one. So how do you develop these skills? For me, it was all about practice, patience, and a willingness to learn from my mistakes. I started small, creating a simple world and a short adventure, and gradually built up my skills and confidence over time. I read books, watched tutorials, and sought out advice from more experienced DMs. And most importantly, I learned to trust myself and my abilities. I remember the first time I ran a session as a DM. It was a disaster. My players were confused, my story was a mess, and I was convinced that I was the worst DM ever. But something clicked in that moment. I realized that I wasn't alone, that every DM starts somewhere, and that the most important thing was that I was having fun. From that moment on, I made a commitment to myself to keep improving, to keep learning, and to always strive to be better. The journey from player to DM isn't always easy, but it's worth it. The sense of pride and accomplishment you get from creating a world that your players love, from watching them grow and evolve as characters, and from knowing that you're the one responsible for bringing it all together. It's an incredible feeling. So, if you're considering taking the leap from player to DM, I urge you to go for it. It won't be easy, but I promise you, it'll be worth it. To recap, leveling up from player to DM takes time, effort, and practice, but the rewards are well worth it. Don't be afraid to take the leap and try something new. You never know what amazing adventures you'll create. Thanks for watching, and if you've made the transition from player to DM, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. And if you're new to DMing, be sure to check out my next video on advanced DM tips and beginner mistakes to avoid. See you in the next video.